You're listening to the Teach Better Talk podcast featuring expert educators eager to share progressive tactics to reach more students. Teach Better Talk is created by teachers and fueled by passion. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 231 of Teach Better Talk podcast. My name is Ray Hewart, and as always, I am with my unappreciative, jerky co-host, Mr. Jeff Gargas. Hi, Jeff.
Normally I'd make some sort of comment about that, but honestly, I've been sort of a negative Nancy tonight. I think I earned every word you just said.
I just want our listeners to know that, truly, Jeff and I actually do get along, and it's a rarity that we're actually not in good moods, actually
That's
laughing
true.
our entire time through podcast recording. Today, Jeff's been a little frustrated, and it's kind of funny for me I'm like, wow, Jeff's human. That never happens.
It's been a rough few days, and I think today was a day that I think everything piled up.
I just want you to know that I understand you've had a rough few days, and it brings me humor, and I just want you to know that about me.
It's good. I'm glad that brings you humor. Wow, man. Okay, are we still recording? Is this still happening?
We are still recording. Yes, our listeners are now seeing this side of our relationship.
Yeah, I just want to note, though, because I think it's important every now and then to mention this, that we actually do get along really, really well.
We do.
The banter is all in fun. It's with the underlying, love and appreciation. Otherwise, I don't think we'd be able to do it as much and work as closely as we have to. And as often as we have to be like we have to move quickly and of stressful nature sometimes and stuff, and still not kill each other. It's pretty good. I think it's good. It's good stuff.
I do enjoy our goofy Monday nights. And I am sorry, buddy, that you're having a rough day. I kind of am hoping that by picking on you, you forget about it and you get more frustrated with me. So you're laughing at gosh, Ray, she's so annoying, instead of forgetting all the stuff that you went through.
Definitely there. So good job.
Yes.
I was actually going to say, we were talking about it beforehand, but one thing that has been fun recently that we've gotten to do together is we've been meeting with a lot of our team, which has been really cool because, first off, the team has grown a lot this year, which is neat because when we have these meetings, we're kind of a lot of people on this team. This is
we have to
cool.
We need to clarify. I want you to go into wherever you're about to go with this, but I just want to clarify. When Jeff says we've been spending time together meeting with our team, he means 3 6-hour Saturday morning meetings. He does not mean we've spent some time together. He means we've lived together on Saturdays.
via Zoom, but yes.
Via Zoom.
Yeah, so we did. So we had about 6.5, almost 7-hour meeting 3 weeks ago, and then the last couple of weeks, you and I 2 weeks ago, you and I did. It was 6.5, and then this past weekend we did about 6, but we had team member folks popping in and stuff throughout. We're doing that again this Saturday, and then more the following Saturday. So
yeah,
it's a lot, and that's just as of right now. If we don't get done what we're supposed to get done, we're probably going to do more. So
so let's clarify what these meetings look like, because I want to actually get into who we're meeting with and all that fun. But I just want to set the tone. You wake up in the morning, you get your coffee, you sit down at your computer. You have a warm cup of coffee and a bowl of Chex Mix and maybe a water bottle. And you just sit and you work for 6.5 hours.
Yeah, pretty much. And then you have 16 Word docs and 5, and then a notebook in front with notes there. I've got an iPad open and sticky notes and, Basecamp open.
So it's really organized, guys. It's so well
done.
Really
organized. But it's a lot of fun because what we've been doing right now is looking back on 2020. What went well, what didn't went well. What did people like, what didn't they like? How do we be better? And then looking at 2021 and saying how can we be better for our audience, for all of you listening, and for anyone watching. How can we do things better for you? How can we be better for our team, and support them and the teachers we work with, the students that they work with, everything like that. Which is fun to think through that.
Absolutely,
that's why we do what we do. So.
And Jeff, you mentioned it earlier, and I cut you off because I'm a brat. But earlier, you were reflecting on how much the team's grown. Where we were this time last year, just with the people that were on the team, with the the leadership that even existed, that as we continue to grow, it's been incredible meeting with members of our team that have.
I'm holding up a 3, and I know I'm confusing you. I apologize, but we've grown almost 3 times from where we were this time last year.
Oh my, wow. 3 times.
Just shy of 3 times the amount of people on the team. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was thinking through that, and my hand made 3s. So like this.
No, it's just comical. Like this time last year, we were just finishing up that Teach Better 19 conference, which still I think was the best weekend of my entire life. I had just met Becky Thal for the first time. Megan and Andrea were kind of on the team getting started. Caitlin was on the team getting started. We just like gotten off the ground with a few of these big things. And I remember these meetings last year was, what are we going to like launch in 2020? Yeah. And now a lot of what we're doing is getting to kind of like continue to support and empower the people that are on the team that are already helping us sustain these projects and really make them even better for 2021. And I think we should give a shout out to the people we've met with so far. We haven't met with everybody on the team yet, but we have people who are just dedicating so much time to being innovative. Like they're so inspiring. The people on our team are so stinking inspiring. It's unbelievable.
Yes. Who we let's shout out a bunch so that when we forget one person, they can be really upset.
Okay, so do we start with Chris, who edits our podcast, because
Chris
he's going
to
hear this first?
We haven't met with Chris, but he always gets a shout out because he can make us sound really, really bad or worse.
Yeah. That's true.
No, so we've met with Carrie.
I was going to say Carrie was first in my mind, because Carrie has revolutionized the teachbetter.com blog that we have. Yeah. And there's more content coming out now than ever before. The guest bloggers are unbelievable. She manages all of that now with the support with Livia. And oh my God, there's so many blog series. I remember, Jeff, last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you were like, we're gonna publish lots of blogs. And I was like, dude, you're crazy. It's not happening. And oh my God, we published like 7 a week. It's unbelievable.
We're up to, this week we kicked off 7 a week.
And that does not count the blog series that launch with like courses and anything else. Like
it also doesn't count any of the podcast episodes that come out from all of our Teach Better Podcast Network podcasts. So that's another like 12, 13, 14 posts with blog posts for the podcast episodes that come out every week too. It's all about just trying to create as much content as possible for people that need it.
But Carrie's mindset, Jeff, Carrie's mindset in our meeting was like, great, so how do we do more? And I'm like, girl, how is that your mindset? Like she is a full-time like educator in Illinois, and she walks this meeting and she's just like, great, so how are we like multiplying this by 100 in the next week? And I'm like, Carrie, stop drinking coffee. What's wrong with you? She's amazing.
Carrie and I just click.
Amazing.
So shout out to you, Carrie.
Love you, Carrie.
Let's see. We also met with Joshua Stamper. Joshua _Stamper as well. Josh leads our podcast network. He's our podcast network manager. He has taken that thing by the horns and just grown with it. He's got some really awesome goals for not only growing that into a great group of podcasts, but also the ways in which we're going to support our podcasts that are on our network and work with them.
His ideas were so inspiring because I didn't know that he had this vision for the podcast network. When we launched the podcast network, he wasn't a part of the team yet. And so it was kind of something we did, and I didn't really think much of it. And Josh has completely re-envisioned that entire network to be so much more than just a space to find another podcast to listen to, but to truly be a space where you can connect with other podcasters and learn. And he has trainings and meetings. Like Josh to me is somebody that I just need to work more closely with more often. Talk about a guy who's passionate and run a mile a minute. Like, holy moly.
He brings so much to the team with his graphic design and art background, being an assistant principal now, and just his story, his passion, his podcast and experience. his demeanor just in general. Super excited about
And
that.
again, full-time assistant principal and
Yes,
doing all
full-time.
this amazing, unbelievable.
Becky Thal. We met with her this past weekend.
I love her. Anytime you say her name, I feel like I'm smiling.
You mentioned her, meeting her at the Teach Better, the conference 2019, and I'm telling you what, like that thing would have fallen apart without Becky there. Ugh. She got in and she's like, well, let's go, put me in, coach. And we're like, here's a whole bunch of stuff to take care of. And she just done. Just didn't have to worry about it. Her and Tiff just took the food and it's just like done. And there was a lot of work going on to that food. Replenishing coffee and food. I mean, it doesn't sound like much, but like if you've never done it before, like that's a lot of work. Because it wasn't like they were just around a corner. They were running up and down the hallways. It's just nuts so much that they were doing.
Not only that weekend did she keep her like Becky Thal lovable positive energy, but that has not like diminished in any way the entire 2020. That girl is just oozing like love and passion, and like every time I talk to her, I'm just like amped up. It's like having a cup of coffee.
All right. People were excited to meet with this coming Saturday. We've got the dynamic duo of Megan and Andrea, who are our ambassador program coordinators who literally built that thing. We're like, they asked how they could help. We said we had this idea. They're like, yeah, we'll go. And it was just like, apparently it got done. What I love most about them is they put so much work in that before, like being able to see it come to fruition at all. And now they've just built that from there. And that group of ambassadors is such a family, a tight-knit family. And Megan and Andrea, just harnessed that and built that foundation. That's just how they operate. It's just been so cool to watch. So I'm super excited to talk with them.
That's something I'm excited about too, because they not only worked almost a year to build it before it launched, but then to have built the culture within that group, and then to know that we're opening more opportunities to enhance that group. Anybody listening who wants to be a Teach Better ambassador, there will be opportunities in 2021, multiple, to join the family. And I think it's so wonderful to see that scale. Like that's those good people, guys. Good people.
That's exciting. This Saturday, we also have Becky Schnexer.
Ooh, Schnexer. Love her.
Who's the lead on our our speakers network. Is she the newest?
I was going to say, is she the newest one?
Livia would be the newest, but Becky's right before her. And we've loved, Becky's so awesome. We've loved her for a while. She was out at Teach Better 19 as well. The energy that woman brings is just unmatched.
And she's brilliant.
Yes, like that's, she's such a cool educator. I mean, if you haven't connected with Becky and seen her, the way she runs her class and the things she does with her students, like it's just so cool. So super pumped to talk to her, and she's really pumped up for what she's going to do in 2021 to support the speakers that are on our speakers network. And then we get to meet with Dr. Dave Schmittou on Saturday as well. And that's all I can say about Dave.
No, stop. Dave's incredible. We talked about him in our last episode, so you guys know that we're huge Schmittou fans, but Dave to me always pushes me to be better. Like everybody that we've mentioned adds so much value to my learning. I just love these people. And we didn't even name the entire team. We just named like who we've met with over the past few weeks. And we didn't even mention Jennifer and Hans Apple and so many other people on like Michelle and Emily
Caitlin,
and Bella and Caitlin and Bella. Oh my God, it just goes on and on and on.
Hold
all
on.
these people.
We can't forget anybody. We said Olivia, and Chad.
Wait, is Chad a part of the team?
Chad's a guy too. He's on the team too. I know this is weird because I'm like getting on my phone right now, but for me this is kind of a neat thing because I would never have to have gone to my phone to make sure that I didn't forget anybody. Like,
oh goodness!
But I love that I have to look. We got everyone. I'm just looking through here. Like, how? Like, I'm just scrolling through our team. It's really, I love doing that. Sorry.
No, it's full incredible people that do incredible work, and I am better because they're in my life. And I know that sounds cheesy and dumb, and you can tweet at me and DM me and tell me I'm a loser, but like meeting with them, like I know why I do the work that I love to do, but meeting with them is the best feeling on the planet because they are so stinking driven. I just can't even keep up.
I love it.
Yeah, so fun.
All right,
So
so shout out
anyway,
to the team because they allow us to do
love you,
this
team.
every Monday too. Speaking of it just being better for knowing someone, our guest today, Tom Boyle, coming to us all the way from Australia, which is awesome. So he was in the middle of his day tomorrow, which is fun.
So he's like in the future.
He's in the future. He's in his school. So Tom is an assistant principal or he's a principal in a elementary school in just outside of Melbourne, Australia. I love his story. Actually came to the States to play basketball at the collegiate level and get his his education here. Went back home. Hopefully he gets to come back sometime again in the future. Really enjoy just his stories, his passion for what he's doing, and just talking to him. It's really cool. We've been connected for a while. Because I had to ship a Teach Better book to him because Amazon wouldn't ship it to him. So we got connected forever ago. So it's really cool to have him on the podcast. Anything else? Anything you want people to pull from this or pay attention to?
There's so much. Oh, something I really appreciated about his reflection and so many of his answers was focused on feedback. I think the more we can continue to focus on being reflective and, gaining feedback from others, providing feedback to those around us is so valuable. But I just feel like Tom really emulates what we talked about at the beginning of this podcast is you guys surround yourself with good people. Tom, I really, really enjoyed connecting with him, and I'm so excited to continue to see what he does in education because he's going to do incredible things as he continues forward.
I love it. With that, let's get into episode 231 with Tom Boyle.
Hey, what's up, podcast? It's Jeff. Don't worry. We're going to get right back into the episode, but I want to make sure you were aware of a brand new course that we have out in the Teach Better Academy right now, Leading by Empowering. This is the first course by our good friend and our Director of Leadership and Development, Dave Schmittou. Within this course, he covers a lot of stuff. It really goes through a self-reflective journey of figuring out who you are as a leader. He talks about opening the door for difficult conversations with your staff. He talks about becoming more knowable than knowledgeable, and continues on about relationships, risk-taking, celebrations, leadership, and growth. It is over at teachbetteracademy.com. If you already have the $9 a month membership, it'll be in your My Courses dashboard now. Otherwise, head over to teachbetteracademy.com. Use the code PODCASTTALK to save 25% right now on Leading by Empowering. All right, let's get back to the episode.
All right, we are here. We are chatting with Tom Boyle. And Tom, it's so awesome to have you on the podcast. You're talking to us from halfway around the world here, coming to us from Australia, which is really exciting to kind of dive into your world and how education looks for you and your journey and just learn all about you. So we're super excited about that. Before we get too far into things, man, how are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling motivated. We've had a pretty crazy time over here in Melbourne, Australia. We just got out of a 4-month lockdown, bit of a draconian lockdown, I guess, with this whole COVID situation. And I guess as our government calls it now, we're in a COVID normal. So we're trying to get back to normal, and I'm just motivated, enthusiastic, and driven to help the kiddos and my staff get back to some form of normal now.
Well, Tom, I'm so glad that you could take some time to chat with us. I know we have a big time difference going on right now, but I'm so thrilled that you were able to take a few minutes to kind of share your story and share everything that you've had going on in this crazy time. Before we get into all that fun, though, I do want to have our listeners first learn a little bit about you, kind of how you answer that age-old question of what you do.
Alrighty. Well, I guess my journey actually started over in America, where I was studying at the time, and my career advisor kind of asked me, "What do you want to do?" And I guess I kind of looked around and said, "I'm not 100% sure." And they said, "What about teaching? You like coaching basketball, you play basketball. Have you thought about teaching?" And I thought, you know what, this kind of sounds interesting. And from then on, the rest is really history. Finished my degree over there, came back home, did about a year back here to get my qualification to teach. And it's 8 years in the game now, and I'm the assistant principal of a school of about 450 students just on the outskirts of the metro area in Melbourne. And I guess for me, I look at myself as just an advocate for students. I think, they're our future. And as cliche as that sounds, they really do need the best possible start and the best support and guidance to be able to be positive members of society in this world that we live in. So I guess an advocate for kids is what I put it down in a short summary.
I love it. And you know what? If cliche or not, it's still the truth. So,
Yeah.
so it's still a spot on there. Curious. So you came to the States for school. Where did you go? Where were you at?
I came over for basketball. Bit of a dream as a little one to go over and play in America. It's where the home of basketball is. So came over to a small school out in Iowa, transferred up a little bit north into Minnesota. Nice cold weather, which was an experience in itself, but loved every minute of it. So really hoping to get back one day and take the family back out there and show them, what it was like a few years ago.
I love it. Well, I hope sometime in the near future you'd be able to do that. So that'd be great.
Yeah.
I want to talk about, one of the things we chat about on this podcast all the time is failure. I always say that I've been fortunate enough to fail a lot in my lifetime because it's led me to where I am. It's given me the lessons and learning that I've needed. So I love hearing other people's stories and journeys on that. Can you share a story with us about a time that you've had a failure? Kind of take us there with you. What happened? How did you overcome it? And what did you take away from that experience?
I guess a failure I looked at would probably be early on in my career. I came out of, my studies really big on building relationships. My experience led me to being able to connect with students is all based on building positive relationships with them. And, at the time I thought it was one of the most important factors of being a good educator, and I still do. However, at the same time, I was given a piece of advice from a colleague that at the time I didn't realize how detrimental that type of comment could be. But the comment was, just make up assessment. No one checks it anyway. And at the time I knew that was wrong, but I didn't fully understand the extent of how kind of wrong that comment was. So I spent my first year or so in education building those relationships with students, but not putting an emphasis on using evidence to inform my practice with my kids. I think I took it more on face value, and I didn't dive deep enough into really understanding what my students needed to progress with their next step in learning. And I think as my journey kind of progressed down, I started to realize that that piece of advice wasn't something that was positive, and I needed to reflect on it and really continue those positive relationships with students, but at the same time focus on what they show that they can and can't do to help support them on their learning journey.
Great takeaway from that. So let's flip that now. Let's talk about a successful moment you had. This could be something big or something small, but tell us what happened. Why was it a success for you? And then what did you take away from that experience?
I guess, that comment stuck with me now in my 8th year in the business, in the game. And being as assistant principal and leading staff and students, it's all about a collaborative culture that, I'm trying to build now, that really focuses on, not just data, because data is irrelevant if it doesn't start a conversation, but really honing into that collaborative discussion about how to support students along their learning journey. I think if I could summarize education into a sentence or two, which is almost impossible, it would be about really using evidence to inform what we do with students, with teachers, and with the whole community. And that's a big journey that we've been on at the current school I'm at. We're really about using all the stakeholders, the feedback and evidence that they give us to plan what our targets are. And look, most recently today, actually, just before I jumped on with you guys, we've been having discussions with our staff about their transition into next year. So our school year is a little bit different to you guys. We finish up in about 3 or 4 weeks for our summer holiday, which goes for about 6 or 7 weeks, and then we're back at the start of February. So all our staff now are kind of finalising where they're at, and just hearing the conversations about how well the staff here know their students, what their needs are academically, socially, their well-being, their family situations, and just that passion and connection they've built with their students and families to support their kiddos along this journey is something that, I wish I had that opportunity when I was in my first couple of years, but to see that in fruition now, I feel that that's a big success for us and for education in general.
It's a massive success. And I love your focus on truly being, dedicated to reflection and gathering feedback and having those important conversations, those collaborative environments that are so essential for the success of our schools, not only has it always been essential, but more than ever. And so I love your approach. I loved your whole story, sharing that. I feel like I was taking notes like, oh my gosh, we all need to be doing this right now. I do kind of want to kind of shift a bit and focus on what's keeping you excited about education, because it sounds like as a leader, you're doing a number of incredible things with staff to support students. And you obviously have a history of being extremely, connected and passionate in finding the right supports for students. So what really fuels your fire? What's keeping you excited right now about education and everything that you're doing?
I think, to be honest, as challenging as the COVID situation has been, it's really shed a light to the broader community about the importance of education and how much a school connects a community together. And that's something that when I was in the States, I really noticed was a big thing that you guys did so well. And to start seeing that over here in Australia, it's really exciting, and it's something that I feel wasn't here a few years ago, or wasn't to the extent that it is now. And we're building a lot of communities of practice. We're networking. We have opportunities, obviously now virtually, where leaders are connecting with other leaders, teachers are connecting with teachers, teachers are connecting with leaders, and vice versa. There's this real collaborative approach outside of schools that is happening, and I'm really excited that as a state out here in Victoria, we're connecting with world leaders. We've had Mary Jean Gallagher, Michael Fullan, Lynn Sharrett. They've been critical friends of our state government and supporting us to really improve our practice as a collective. So I'm really excited about how networking has improved and how communities are really valuing educational facilities as something that's so paramount to the success of a community. So I'm pretty excited about the journey we're on as a whole.
Oh, I couldn't agree more with the change that building a strong network can provide. As an educator, we've constantly said, the choice in 2020 to live in isolation truly is a choice. There are so many opportunities to connect safely and connect with people that can give you, different ideas or advice and facilitate reflection. And I love to hear the movement of educators truly being connected educators in this world. It's so valuable and makes a world of a difference. I know personally it has to me as well. If you had to give Tom one piece of advice, and I'm sure it's hard to pinpoint one, but one piece of advice that you want to provide, whether it be to a new teacher or a teacher that's been in the field for a multitude of years, what piece of advice would you want to leave them with?
I think more now than ever, it's so imperative, as I mentioned earlier, to know your students. Your kiddos, they're coming to school, every day, and for a lot of them, it's the best part of their day is seeing your face in the morning, being with their friends, learning new things. And I think to be able to know your students inside and out and what qualities they have, what their personality traits are, what support they need for their learning, I think that is so vital. But at the same time, as teachers, we need to make sure that we are the best versions of ourselves. And I think looking after your own well-being is something that's so important. And it's a bit of an initiative out here at the moment about staff well-being. And one thing that I would make sure that every educator reflects on is that there's no one-size-fits-all approach. You need to find something that works for you, that looks after your own well-being and your self-care and your state of mind. So when you do enter the school building every morning, you're the best version of yourself. So therefore, the kids that you work with get the best version of you, and they can end up, hopefully, being the best version of themselves.
That is so true, Tom, and so important. And I really love the part you mentioned. I think a big key is that there is not one size fits all, right? You have to find what works for you, and you individually makes you the best self. And I love how you wrapped it up with so that hopefully your students can be the best version of themselves. That's obviously it's a big push here in the States, and rightfully so important, especially during everything that we're all going through with this pandemic and everything, and the pressure and the responsibility being put on educators right now. It's more important than ever. So awesome advice. I love it. Let's have some fun with these next 6 questions. I'm going to throw these at you. Your goal is to answer each one in 15 seconds or less. You ready to go?
I'll give it my best.
All right, here we go. Give us one EdTech tool you cannot live without.
Plickers.
Give us a book you're reading right now.
I'm reading 10 Mindframes for Leaders by John Hattie.
Who do we need to follow on Twitter or Instagram today?
I'd say Lynn Sharrett, Dylan William, and anything to do with the visible learning research.
What's a good YouTube channel, website, or podcast for educators to check out?
Obviously, your podcast is something that really got me enthused. I'm sure you've heard that before, but it is one of the best out there, I believe. And to add to that, TED Talks. I love a good TED Talk.
Love it. I actually think you're the only one who listens, Tom, but we appreciate that either way. Give us a daily, weekly, or monthly routine every teacher should get into.
As I said before, there's no one size fits all. So something you like to do that makes you be the best version of yourself.
And the best piece of advice you've ever received.
My wife actually gave me this piece of advice. She said, if you're going to be an educator, be the best educator you could possibly be.
Oh, Ray, I think the trophy goes to his wife.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. You can't have the trophy. We're giving it to your wife for sure. And I need that quote like as my background on my computer or something. Oh, if you're going to be an educator, be the best educator you can be. Oof.
I mean, that's good advice no matter what. You could do like, if you're going to be a blank space, be the best blank space you could be and just like sell it to everyone. Like, it's just the truth. I love it.
Simple but effective,
I'm just saying, I think that needs to be like a Teach Better swag bumper sticker. I think all of us would go and grab that one. I love that your wife is a genius and now an owner of the Teach Better Talk Trophy for sure.
I love it.
No question about it. Tom, I want to make sure that our listeners can stay connected to you. Do you mind kind of sharing how everyone can stay connected and where they can continue to reach out if they have questions?
Yeah, no worries. Social media and education isn't as huge as it is in the States out here, but I've got a Twitter handle, TomBoyle87, and I can leave my email address on the website. Anyone can shoot me an email and we can continue to network and connect because it's the most important thing in education.
I love it. And you can find all the links, all the resources, everything we mentioned in this episode over at teachbetter.com, as well as the links to connect with Tom, keep the conversation going. So make sure you head over to teachbetter.com for all of that. Be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. And if you can give us a rating and a review, we'd really appreciate that as well. And let's keep taking this one step further. Think of just 3 of your colleagues who need to hear these amazing stories and share this podcast with them. Tom, this was awesome. I remember connecting with you. I'm thinking back to how long ago it was when we originally connected. And then finally getting you on the podcast now and having you on here and having you share your story. Just really, really appreciate you. Appreciate the work you do and appreciate you spending some time with us today, man. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And until next time, let's get out there and let's teach better.